Release your emotions in 5 minutes. You don't need to cry harder. You don't need to explain your feelings. You need a way to let them move without drowning in them. Introduction. There's a feeling you know well. It sits in your chest, or your throat, or somewhere deep in your stomach. It's not quite sadness, not quite anger, not quite anything you can name. It's just there, heavy, waiting, taking up space, and you don't know what to do with it. Most people think emotions need to be understood before they can be released. That you have to figure out why you feel the way you feel. That you have to talk it through, analyze it, make sense of it. But that's not how emotions work. Emotions are not problems to solve. They're energy to move, sensations to feel, waves that need to pass through. And when you try to understand them before you feel them, they get stuck because you're staying in your head when the feeling is in your body. This book is about release, not analysis, not explanation, just release. It's about learning how to let emotions move through you in 5 minutes, without falling apart, without losing control, without making it mean something terrible about you or your life. You don't need hours of crying. You don't need a breakdown. You don't need to talk to someone about everything you're feeling. Sometimes you just need 5 minutes. 5 minutes where you give your emotions permission to exist, to move, to complete. And then they pass, not because you force them to, but because that's what emotions do when you let them. The first part of this book explores why emotions get stuck, why you can feel fine one moment and suddenly overwhelmed the next, why some feelings never seem to fully go away no matter how much you think about them. The second part is the practice. 5 minutes, 5 specific steps that allow emotions to move through your body and complete their cycle, without drama, without collapse. Just gentle, intentional release. The third part is about what comes after. How to feel without losing control. How to stay stable even when emotions are strong. How to trust yourself with your own feelings. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's not about never feeling upset again. It's about learning that you can feel deeply and still be okay. That emotions are not dangerous, that you don't have to run from them or drown in them. You can just let them be. Let them move. Let them go. All it takes is 5 minutes, and the willingness to stop fighting what you feel. Let's begin. Part I: Why Emotions Get Stuck. Chapter 1. Feelings you never finished feeling. Unfelt emotions don't disappear, they wait. You've probably noticed this. A song comes on and suddenly you're on the verge of tears. Someone says something innocuous and you feel a surge of anger. You're lying in bed and a wave of sadness hits you for no apparent reason. These aren't random. They're not signs that something is wrong with you. They're old emotions, feelings you never finished feeling, moments you pushed through without processing. And now they're surfacing because they never went away. They've just been waiting. Every time you feel something and don't let yourself fully feel it, that emotion gets stored, not in your mind, in your body, in your nervous system, in the tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the tightness in your chest. It's not gone. It's just compressed, held, waiting for a moment when you have space to feel it. Think about a difficult conversation. Someone hurt you. You felt the sting, but you couldn't respond. You had to hold it together. So you swallowed it. You pushed it down. You told yourself you'd deal with it later. But later never came. You moved on to the next thing. and the next, and the hurt stayed inside you. And now, weeks or months later, something small happens. Something that reminds your body of that original hurt. And suddenly you're flooded with emotion, out of proportion to what just happened. Because it's not just about now, it's about then. About all the times you felt something and didn't let yourself feel it. This is why emotions seem to come out of nowhere. They don't. They're not new. They're just unfinished. You never completed the feeling. You interrupted it, and your body has been carrying it ever since. Emotions have a cycle. They rise, they peak, they release, and then they pass. But most people interrupt that cycle. They stop the emotion somewhere in the middle. They suppress it. They distract from it. They rationalize it away. And when you do that, the emotion doesn't complete. It just pauses. And it stays paused until you give it permission to finish. This is why you can feel fine for days and then suddenly not fine at all. It's not that something is broken. It's that your body is trying to complete something it started a long time ago. And it will keep trying until you let it. Unfelt emotions accumulate. They layer on top of each other. Grief you didn't cry, anger you didn't express, fear you didn't acknowledge, and over time, you start to feel heavy, overwhelmed, like you're carrying something you can't name. Because you are. You're carrying all the feelings you never let yourself finish feeling. This isn't your fault. You didn't know. You were doing what you thought you had to do. Staying strong, keeping it together, getting through. But strength doesn't mean not feeling. Real strength is feeling and not falling apart. It's letting the emotion move through without letting it destroy you. And you can do that. You just need to know how. The first step is recognizing that the emotions you're feeling now might not all be about now. Some of them are old, unfinished, waiting to complete, and that's okay. You don't have to understand where they came from. You don't have to trace them back to a specific moment. You just have to let them finish, let them move, let them release, and then they'll stop waiting. Chapter 2. Emotional suppression disguised as strength. You've been taught that holding it together is strength, that not breaking down means you're coping, that keeping your emotions in check is maturity. And in some situations that's true. There are moments when you can't fall apart, when you have to function, when you have to keep going. But what happens to the emotion you suppressed in that moment? It doesn't vanish. It goes underground. It gets stored, and it waits. Suppression looks like strength. It looks like you're handling it, like you're resilient. But suppression has a cost you don't see until later. Until the emotions start leaking out in ways you can't control. In irritability, in exhaustion, in sudden outbursts, in numbness. Because you can't selectively suppress. You can't push down sadness without also dimming joy. You can't block anger without also blocking passion. You can't numb fear without also numbing callousness. This is why people who suppress emotions for years often feel flat, disconnected, like they're going through the motions but not really living. They've gotten so good at not feeling that they've lost access to feeling altogether. The thing is, suppression feels necessary. It feels like the only option. Because you don't have another tool. You don't know how to feel without falling apart. So you just don't feel. But there's a middle path between suppression and collapse, between holding it all in and letting it all out. It's called release, and it's different from both. Release is intentional. It's controlled. You're not suppressing the emotion. but you're also not drowning in it. You're letting it move through, in small manageable doses, in a way that doesn't overwhelm you. And that's what most people don't know is possible. They think the only options are to bottle it up or to break down. But you can release emotion without breaking. You can feel deeply without losing yourself. You just need a process, a way to let the emotion move that feels safe. Suppression often gets reinforced by the people around you, by a culture that values productivity over processing, by messages that tell you to stay positive, to not dwell, to move on. And so you move on before you've actually moved through. You skip the feeling part and go straight to the coping part. And that works for a while, until it doesn't. If you've been suppressing for a long time, you might not even know what you're feeling anymore. You've gotten so used to pushing emotions down that you don't recognize them when they arise. You just feel vaguely uncomfortable, off tense, but you can't name it. That's because suppression disconnects you from your internal world. You lose the ability to read your own signals, to know what you need, to understand what's happening inside you. And that disconnection makes everything harder. Because you can't release what you can't feel, and you can't feel what you've been trained to ignore. But you can reconnect. You can learn to feel again, not in a chaotic, overwhelming way, but in a gentle, intentional way. You can relearn the language of your emotions. You can give yourself permission to feel without judging yourself for it. And when you do, the suppression loosens. The weight lifts, and you start to feel more alive. Not because you're feeling more intense emotions, but because you're feeling them fully and letting them go. Suppression is not strength, it's survival. And you don't have to survive anymore. You can release, you can feel, you can let the emotions move, and you'll still be okay. Part 2, the 5-minute emotional release. Chapter 3. Minute 1, permission to feel. The first minute is the most important, because it's where you give yourself permission. Permission to feel whatever is here. Permission to stop pretending you're fine. Permission to acknowledge that something is heavy, or uncomfortable, or painful. Most people skip this step. They go straight to trying to fix the feeling, to make it go away, to understand it, but you can't release what you won't acknowledge. Find a quiet space. You don't need perfect silence. You don't need to be alone. You just need a moment where you're not performing, where you're not pretending. Sit down. Close your eyes if that feels safe, or just soften your gaze. Now ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what you think you should feel, not what makes sense, just what's actually here. Maybe it's sadness, maybe it's anger, maybe it's something you can't name. Maybe it's just a heaviness, a tightness, a discomfort. Whatever it is, name it, even if the name isn't perfect. I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel overwhelmed, I feel something I can't name. Don't judge it. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't feel this way. Don't rationalize it or explain it away. Just acknowledge it. Let it be real. Because the moment you acknowledge an emotion, it starts to shift. Not because you've done anything to it, but because it's been seen. And emotions need to be seen before they can be released. This might feel vulnerable. You might resist it. Part of you might say, I don't want to feel this. I don't have time for this. And that's okay. You don't have to want to feel it. You just have to be willing to acknowledge that it's here. Sometimes just naming the emotion is enough to soften it. Because you've stopped fighting it. You stopped pretending it's not there. And when you stop fighting, the emotion doesn't have to fight back. It can just exist, and existing is the first step toward passing. Give yourself this first minute, this moment of permission. You don't have to fix anything yet. You don't have to make the feeling go away. You just have to let it be here, because it already is. And pretending it's not doesn't make it disappear. It just makes it louder. So breathe, notice, acknowledge. Whatever you're feeling right now, you're allowed to feel it. Chapter 4. Minute 2. Letting sensation move. The second minute is about getting out of your head and into your body. Because emotions are not just thoughts. They're physical, they're sensations. And the only way to release them is to feel them in your body. Bring your attention to where the emotion lies. For most people, it's in the chest, or the throat, or the stomach, but it could be anywhere. Your shoulders, your jaw, your back, wherever you feel it. That's where you focus. Notice the sensation, not the story, not the thought, just the physical feeling. Is it tight, heavy, hot, pulsing, aching, fluttering? You're not trying to change it. You're just noticing it, feeling it, letting it be there. This is where most people resist, because feeling the sensation fully can be uncomfortable. It can feel like too much. Like if you really let yourself feel it, you'll be overwhelmed. But here's the truth: the sensation is already there. Avoiding it doesn't make it smaller. It just keeps it stuck. And when you actually turn toward it, when you let yourself feel it fully, it starts to move, because that's what sensations do. They rise, they peak, and they pass. But only if you let them. As you feel the sensation, breathe into it. Not to make it go away, just to stay present with it. Breathe into your chest if that's where it is. Breathe into your stomach, wherever the sensation lies. Send your breath there. You're not trying to breathe it away. You're just staying with it, letting it be felt. Sometimes when you do this, the sensation intensifies. It might feel bigger, stronger. And that's okay. It's not getting worse. It's just becoming more conscious. You're feeling it fully for maybe the first time. And that can feel intense. But it won't last. Sensations peak. And then they release. You just have to stay with it long enough to let it peak. If it feels like too much, you can slow down. You can open your eyes. You can ground yourself by feeling your feet on the floor, your body in the chair. You don't have to drown in it. You're in control. You can pace this. But don't run from it. Don't distract. Just stay. Just breathe. Just feel. As you stay with the sensation, you might notice it start to shift. It might soften, or move, or change quality. That's the release beginning. That's the emotion moving. Let it. Don't hold on to it. Don't try to keep feeling it. Just let it move however it wants to move. This minute is about trust. Trusting that your body knows how to release emotion. Trusting that the sensation won't destroy you. Trusting that you can feel fully and still be okay. And every time you do this, that trust grows. Chapter 5. Minute 3. Releasing without story. The third minute is about letting go of the story. Because emotions come with stories, narratives about why you feel this way, what it means, what caused it. And those stories keep the emotion alive. You might be feeling sadness, and your mind starts telling you why. I'm sad because of what happened last week. Because of what they said. Because my life isn't where I thought it would be. And the more you engage with the story, the more the sadness deepens. because you're feeding it. You're giving it reasons to stay. But emotions don't need stories to exist, and they don't need stories to release. In fact, the story often prevents release because it keeps you in your head. It keeps you analyzing, justifying, explaining, and while you're doing that, you're not feeling. You're thinking about feeling, and that's not the same thing. For this minute, let go of the story. Let go of the why. Let go of the meaning. Just feel the emotion as a sensation, as energy, as something moving through your body. It doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to move. Every time your mind tries to tell you the story, notice it, acknowledge it, and then gently redirect. I'm telling a story, but right now, I'm just going to feel. You're not dismissing this story. You're just setting it aside. Because this isn't the time for analysis. This is the time for release. When you release the story, the emotion becomes simpler. It's no longer tangled up in meaning. It's just a feeling, and feelings on their own are easier to release. You don't have to carry the weight of the narrative. You just have to let the sensation move. This can be hard, especially if you're someone who needs to understand everything, who needs to know why. But sometimes understanding comes after release, not before. Sometimes you have to let the emotion go first. And then, if you still need to understand it, you can explore it, but from a clearer place, a place that's not flooded with the feeling. For now, just let it be feeling, without explanation, without justification, without story. Just energy, moving, releasing, passing through. And as you do this, you might notice something. The emotion doesn't need the story to be valid. It's valid just because it's here. You don't have to earn the right to feel. You don't have to justify it. You can just let yourself feel it and let it go. Release the story. Feel the sensation. Let it move. That's all this minute asks of you. Chapter 6. Minute 4. Softening resistance. The fourth minute is about resistance, because even when you're trying to feel, part of you is still resisting, part of you is bracing, tightening, holding the emotion at arm's length. And that resistance is what keeps the emotion stuck. Resistance feels like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want this to be happening. This shouldn't be here. It's the part of you that's still fighting, still trying to control, still wishing you felt different than you do. And as long as that resistance is there, the emotion can't fully release because you're not fully allowing it. So this minute is about softening, not forcing, not trying to make the resistance go away, just softening around it. Notice where you're resisting. It might be in your body, a tightness, a bracing, a holding, or it might be in your mind, a thought that says, I shouldn't feel this. I need to stop. This is too much. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Resistance is natural. It's your system trying to protect you. But right now you're safe, and you can let the resistance soften. Take a slow breath, and as you exhale, imagine the resistance loosening, just a little. You're not giving up. You're not collapsing. You're just letting go of the fight. You're letting the emotion be here without needing it to be different. Sometimes resistance is the last layer, the thing standing between you and release. And when you soften it, the emotion can finally complete. It can move through. It can finish. Softening doesn't mean you like the feeling. It doesn't mean you want it. It just means you're not fighting it anymore. You're allowing it. You're making space for it. You're letting it be, and in that allowing, something shifts. You might notice your body soften, your shoulders drop, your jaw releases, your breathing deepens. That's the resistance letting go. That's your system saying, okay, I can stop bracing now. And as it does, the emotion moves. It flows, it releases. If the resistance is strong, you can speak to it gently. I know you're trying to protect me, but right now I'm safe. I can feel this. I can let it move. You're not forcing it, you're just reassuring it, letting it know it can relax. This minute is about surrender, not giving up, but giving in, letting the emotion be exactly what it is without needing to change it. And in that surrender, release becomes possible. Soften, breathe, allow. Let the resistance dissolve, and let the emotion flow. Chapter 7. Minute 5. Emotional completion. The 5th minute is about completion, about letting the emotion finish its cycle, about signaling to your body that it's done, that it can let go now. By now, the emotion has moved, it's shifted. Maybe it's softer, maybe it's passed entirely, maybe it's still there but different, lighter. Whatever state it's in, you're going to help it complete. Take one full, slow breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you exhale, imagine the emotion releasing completely, like you're breathing it out, letting it go. You don't have to force it. Just allow it. Give it permission to leave. Sometimes there's a final wave, a last surge of sensation before it fully releases. A sigh, a tear, a shudder. Let it happen. Don't hold it back. This is the completion, the final release, and then it passes, and you're on the other side. Now bring your attention back to your body. Notice how it feels now compared to 5 minutes ago. Is there more space, more ease? Even slightly. You're not looking for a complete transformation, just a shift, a lightness, a softening. And if the emotion is still there, that's okay. Sometimes one round isn't enough. Sometimes emotions have layers, and you release one layer and there's another underneath. That doesn't mean it didn't work. It means you're in process, and you can do this again, as many times as you need. But for now, acknowledge what you've done. You've given yourself 5 minutes to feel, to release, to let an emotion move through. And that's not nothing, that's everything. Before you open your eyes, say to yourself, I can feel, I can release, I'm safe. Not as a mantra, just as a truth, a reminder, an anchor. Because you are safe, you just proved it. You felt something difficult, and you didn't fall apart. You let it move, and you're still here, still okay. Now slowly open your eyes, come back. You've completed the cycle. The emotion has been felt, acknowledged, released, and your body knows. It knows it's done. It knows it can rest now. This is emotional completion, and you can do it anytime. In 5 minutes, you don't need perfect conditions. You don't need hours. You just need willingness. And 5 minutes. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes, the quicker the release, the lighter you feel. Part 7. Emotional balance. Chapter 8. Feeling without losing control. One of the biggest fears people have about feeling their emotions is losing control. They're afraid that if they really let themselves feel, they'll fall apart, they'll cry forever, they'll say something they can't take back, they'll spiral and never come back. But that's not how emotions work. Emotions are waves. They rise, they peak, they fall, and then they pass. But most people never let the wave complete. They interrupt it, they suppress it, or they resist it so hard that the wave crashes instead of crests. And that's what feels like losing control. Not the feeling itself, but the explosion that comes from too much suppression. When you practice intentional release, when you give emotions space to move in small, manageable ways, they don't explode, they just flow. You feel them fully, and then they pass, without drama, without collapse. The key is not to wait until you're overwhelmed, not to wait until the emotion is so big that it feels unmanageable. You release regularly, in small doses, before it builds to the breaking point. You give yourself 5 minutes when you notice the first signs of heaviness, when you feel the tightness starting, when the emotion is still manageable, and that prevents the flood. That prevents the loss of control. You also stay present. When you're releasing emotion, you're not dissociating, you're not checking out. You're staying with yourself, staying in your body, staying aware. That presence is what keeps you grounded, what keeps you safe. You're feeling the emotion, but you're also holding yourself through it. You're not lost in it, you're with it. If at any point it feels like too much, you can slow down. You can open your eyes. You can ground yourself by noticing your surroundings, by feeling your feet on the floor. You're in control of the process. You can pace it. You can pause it. You can come back to it later. You're not at the mercy of the emotion. You're choosing to feel it, and you can choose to slow down if you need to. Feeling without losing control is about trust, trusting that emotions have an end, trusting that you can handle them, trusting that feeling them won't destroy you. And every time you release emotion intentionally, that trust grows. You prove to yourself that you can feel deeply and still be okay, that you can cry and then stop crying, that you can feel anger and not act on it, that you can be sad and still functional. You're not weak for feeling, you're strong for allowing it, for not running, for staying with yourself even when it's uncomfortable. That's real strength, not suppression, not control, but presence, allowance, release. And the more you practice this, the less afraid you become of your own emotions. You stop seeing them as threats. You start seeing them as information, as energy, as something that moves through. And when you're not afraid of them, they lose their power over you. You can feel without losing control, because you've learned that feeling is not the same as drowning. Chapter 9. Emotional stability after release. After you release emotion, there's often a quiet, a stillness, a sense of space that wasn't there before. That's emotional stability, not the absence of feeling, but the presence of balance. Stability doesn't mean you never feel upset. It means you know how to return to center, how to release what needs to be released and then come back to yourself. You're not flatlined, you're not numb. You're just balanced. After a release, your nervous system reliberates, it settles, it returns to baseline, and from that baseline, you can think more clearly, you can respond more calmly, you can make decisions that aren't clouded by unprocessed emotion. This is why regular emotional release is so important. It's not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about maintaining balance over time. When you release regularly, emotions don't accumulate. They don't build up until they overflow. They just move through as they arise. And that keeps you stable, steady, grounded. Emotional stability also means you're less reactive, because you're not carrying unprocessed emotion that's looking for an outlet. Someone says something and instead of snapping, you pause. You notice what you're feeling, and you choose how to respond. You're not suppressing. You're just not reacting from overflow. You're responding from presence. After a release, give yourself a moment to just be. Don't immediately jump back into activity. Don't rush to the next thing. Just sit. Just breathe. Just let your system settle. You've just moved a lot of energy. Your body needs a moment to integrate, to calibrate, to find its new baseline. You might feel lighter. You might feel tired. You might feel both. All of that is normal. Release takes energy, not a lot, but some, and your body needs a moment to recover. So be gentle with yourself. Drink water, move slowly, let yourself transition back into the world without rushing. Over time, as you practice regular release, you'll notice something. You feel more stable, more present, more able to handle what life throws at you. Not because life gets easier, but because you're not carrying as much. You're processing as you go. You're releasing instead of storing, and that makes everything lighter. Emotional stability is not a destination, it's a practice. It's something you maintain through small, consistent actions. 5 minutes of release, regularly. Whenever you notice emotion building, whenever you feel heavy, whenever you need to let something go. That's all it takes. And in those 5 minutes, you're not just releasing emotion. You're building stability. You're teaching your system that it's safe to feel, that emotions can move, that you can handle whatever arises. And that knowledge, that trust, is what creates lasting stability. Closing. You didn't lose control. You gave your emotions a way out. You've just learned how to release emotion in 5 minutes. Not by crying harder, not by talking it through, but by letting it move through your body. Emotions are not problems. They're not signs of weakness. They're not things you need to fix or understand before they can leave. They're just energy, sensation, waves that rise and fall, and when you give them space to move, they do, they complete, they release. You don't have to be afraid of what you feel. You don't have to suppress it or drown in it. You can just let it be. Let it move, let it go. In 5 minutes. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming free. Free from the weight of unfelt emotion. Free from the fear of your own feelings. Free from the cycle of suppression and overflow. You can feel deeply, fully, and still be okay. Permission to feel, letting sensation move. Releasing without story, softening resistance. Emotional completion, that's the process. That's the path. That's how you release. And every time you do this, you build trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your ability to feel. Trust that emotions won't destroy you. They'll just pass through, like weather, like waves. You don't need to do this perfectly. You don't need to release every emotion the moment it arises. You just need to remember when the weight gets heavy. When the emotion builds, you have a tool. 5 minutes, that's all it takes. And in those 5 minutes, you give yourself something precious. Space, permission, release. You give your emotions a way out. And you give yourself a way forward. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling. Thank you for giving yourself this space. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're just human, and humans feel. It's what we do. Now you know how to let those feelings move. End of audiobook.